is 10 to the power of 20 parts of water to 1 part div ingredient, such that like many of the modern dilutions, as they're called, they call it potentization, but obviously it's just a simple scientific thing we know as dilution, is so diluted that it remains statistically improbable that a single molecule of the original substance survives. So the theory is the water has memory and remembers the root water, whatever shit you put in there, and treats that condition. And it's just obviously fucking hogwash and fails double-blinded tests. And I dug into it a lot way back in the day, and as a result, yeah, I understand it very well, but reject it as false.
Well, I finally learned something new today on Discord.
Wait, just so we're clear, you probably learned a lot of new things. You just say they're not true.
No, everything that has been said to me in the past hour, I already knew.
Yeah, but that's not what I just said.
Well, I've only been here for an hour.
You've only been on Discord. The entire use of Discord you've ever had has only been.
No, I said today. You non-listening retard. I said this is the first thing I learned on Discord today. You fucking goofy.
Yeah. I still don't even believe that's the case.
You fucking goofy. You fucking goofy. I don't care what you fucking believe. You're goofy as hell.
Whoa. This is obviously a Mickey Mouse server. We're not goofy here. Please stop the accusations. Thank you.
I'm more of a Pluto guy myself.
Like the planet? Joke.
Planet Pluto. But yeah, that's the first thing I learned all day. Homeopathy on Discord.
You should hang out in better servers.
No, I'm pretty sure this is the most poppin' server right now.
No, not obviously this one. I'm not talking. This one's fine. Were we talking about homeopathy in here?
And by the way, it is a euphemism to say that people are liars. Don't listen to anything they say. Just watch what they do instead. That is a euphemism.
Hard when you can't see them, eh, Larry?
I don't think that's a euphemism.
So I'm not softening it by saying people are liars. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. So words speak louder than actions, or sorry, actions speak louder than words. That's not softening it by not calling every single one of us a liar. I think
no,
you don't know what means.
That's what that kind of means.
The issue with calling people liars, though. You could just call them liars.
It's not calling people liars. It's saying that through action you don't need words.
Yeah, but you could still call people liars.
Yeah, but why would they be lying? It doesn't immediately assume they're lying.
Different question.
But
euphemism either way.
Euphemism is more like, Larry, is like they were bumping uglies. But I didn't want to say those two people had sex, so I went, oh, they were bumping uglies, or they made the beast with two backs. These are euphemisms usually to say something rude. I say something less rude, often to like obscure the meaning or make it appropriate to say in polite company, or so a kid can't hear.
Yeah, so
right. Or he's a sandwich. He's a sandwich short of a picnic is another way, like a euphemistic way to say somebody's a bit dumb or crazy.
It just has to be blunt, right? It just has to be blunt when you're referring to something.
No, what are you talking about? Euphemism is not blunt.
Unpleasant.
Euphemism is not blunt.
That's what the definition says. Expressing
euphemism is blunt. Or expresses something else that's blunt in a less blunt manner.
Yeah, that.
Right, so the euphemism is not
when referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing.
Okay, we're all liars, including me, so you shouldn't listen to what people say. You should watch how they behave.
Yeah, and I watch how you behave and you regularly strawman people.
You can have both of those things. You could call people liars and watch how they behave. Why are these things exclusive?
I watch how you behave and you regularly strawman people.
It's true.
How am I strawman when I'm asking questions? Because I usually ask questions, right?
But
you can ask leading questions.
It's right now is a strawman, which is assuming that I said what you just said was strawmanning. And it's not what I said. I said you regularly do it. I didn't say you're doing it right now, but you took that to mean you're doing it right now. So interestingly, it did mean you were doing it right now by suggesting I meant that.
The straw man,
It's
because I didn't think I was doing it right
the
now. I
straw
never
man
thought I was doing
inception over here.
it. Holy shit.
Are we allowed to have meta
The
conversations
straw
on this
man
channel or
within a
no?
straw man. This is like an infinite straw man within straw man.
Wait,
You are always allowed to
combos
have
or
meta
no?
conversations. The easiest way to do that would be to locate when a channel gets this large, would be to go to one of the other voice channels, like other conversations or general chat. Sometimes I do this with Omni, and we just talk shit about all of you.
Yeah, but that's not what I was talking about. It's just like it seems
That's
like
good to
I got
know.
shut
What's
down
the
a lot of
main?
the time for meta combos, and now it seems like
If
we're
you don't
having
like
one.
meta combos, what's the actual combo?
No, I don't have an issue with meta combos. It just it seems like I get shut down all the time for having meta combos, and then we're like, well, let's get back to flat Earth. But now we're having meta combos. So I was just curious about that.
Meta combos, provided they're like still relatively
Meta.
I have a question for the flat earthers.
Chaos.
I have a question for the flat earthers in the room.
Shoot.
So I don't know, we could, or not a question, but a topic. We could talk about the hump, the hump in the ocean, the visible hump in the ocean that you see, and maybe the flat earthers could give their opinions on that.
Oh, you mean perspective?
Wait, but water always finds its level. Always finds its level, dude. Come on, man. You should know this.
Immediately, a non-flat earther distracts from the actual topic. Nice.
That's
I want
the
to
answer.
hear a flat earther's answer to Noah's question. What do we think the hump in the ocean is?
No, flat Earth is the last thing flat earthers ever want to talk about. Even they're sick of themselves.
What the fuck? Anyway, that's another baseless assertion fallacy. There is no hump. When I went to Corpus Christi, North Beach, I could see Ingleside on the bay at 10 miles away from less than a foot above the surface of the water. And the funny thing about it is that I saw it for 3 days and 3 nights. Like the whole time I was there, I could see the beach houses during the day and the street lamps at night. So what hump are you talking about?
What is the first thing that got guy who's always meta talking? Guy who's always meta talking. I'm trying to actually say. I'm trying to actually derive meaning. Please.
Can we all agree that he just simply lied there when he just said there is no hump in the water?
You shut the fuck up. That was the most pointless fucking introduction ever. Larry,
Just
what was
curious.
the first thing?
Okay.
Shut the fuck up. Larry, what was the first thing you said? You said what? When you started your thing out?
Yeah, there was no hump because I could see Ingleside on the bay from 10 miles away.
Yeah, I'm gonna politely disagree. I'm gonna politely disagree with you. Not on your witness account, but on the fact that there is a visible hump because I've seen it.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been on either side of the seashore of Molokai, Lanai, and Maui, and from one beach to the other, you cannot actually see the beach on the other island. It is obscured. It is obscured by a visible hump of water that obscures the beach. You can only see the forest part that's above the beach.
Whatever it is,
I respectfully disagree. I've witnessed it. There's a visible hump that you can see.
Whatever it is not concavity. It is anything but concavity. Mention anything else but concavity. Thank you.
It's the Rayleigh criterion because you have small aperture, like with my eyes, right? Like, of course, I couldn't see the dock, right? But because of the Rayleigh criterion, things converge. So there's going to be a limit to how your eyesight works.
Yeah, they're just They're just like super. I don't know why you guys try with this. They're just gonna say nuh-uh.
Why? I don't know why you turn up to ask why we don't. You don't know why we try. Like, it's a weird thing. Because if what we're doing is dumb, Okna, then what you are doing is dumb to the power of dumb.
I'm not saying dumb. I'm asking why you do it.
Yeah, I'm asking why you ask us why we do it. If it's dumb to do it, it is also dumb to ask why we do it. You don't get out of this by just re-asking the question. If the point is that asking that question is more dumb than us conversing, then what you are doing is turbo stupid.
Okay, wait, no, but I've been on either beach. I've been on either beach. The exact beach I'm looking at that's obscured by the hump, I've been on and looking at the other beach. Like beach A on Lanai, looking over towards Maui, beach B or Molokai or whatever. I've seen where I'm supposed to be, because you can see the landmark. You can see the landmarks above the beach, like certain trees, certain mountains, certain buildings, but you can't actually see the beach. The beach is obscured by a visible hump. What Larry just said is that the beach is too. What Larry said is the beach is too thin for my eyes to observe. So you're saying if I get a telescope, I would be able to actually bring the beach back into view. That's basically what Larry is saying? I'm correct.
That's a necessary. I don't think Larry's saying, but that would be to me a necessary consequence of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a necessary consequence. What he's saying implies that, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
There's also, the angle, right, from the middle of your eyesight to the sky. The sky is the limit. And the angle from the middle of your eyesight to the surface of the water, the surface is the limit. So that's also going to be a factor, correct?
I don't understand what that means. If it's flat, it won't have a hump. It will be the limit, but the limit will either be the crest of a hump or infinity.
Well, if you guys just want to completely ignore perspective, you can talk amongst yourself. But if perspective is a real thing, then we should probably...
We're not ignoring perspective.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing you don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not the one denying it. So the Rayleigh criterion is a real thing. It causes things to converge, right? Through the aperture. If there's a big enough aperture, then the convergence will lessen. But eventually it gets to a point to where even the aperture has limitations, just like your eyes.
Dude, it's not even, dude, these islands are not even that far apart, bro. Like, they almost look as if you could swim across the channel and make it from one to the other.
And what do you think it could be? I test myself that the Rayleigh criterion that you're invoking doesn't work, because that would only work as the thing gets further from you. Whereas the test I've done, which just copies Soundly's Pontchartrain one, is with some headlands in Sydney. I brought the drone down to like very close to sea level and then took it straight up and straight back down. And what you get is distant cliff edges, like the headlands that have these foamy, really easy to spot white breakers smashing against them. And what you see is they're not visible. There's just the near ones visible. And then as you pop up, they pop up all in a row as they would if you would see them over a hump. And it gives you a really good impression it's a hump. And what that says about your point about the Rayleigh criterion, Larry, is that can't be the explanation, because the angular size of them is identical at the top as it is to the bottom for something that's 10 kilometers away, right? It might be a millimeter further from it by the time you turn that into a triangle. Whereas
there's 100.
So let me get this straight. Your argument is that we can see more when we get higher, therefore the Earth is a globe? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not my argument.
Therefore your explanation, therefore your explanation of the fucking aperture is incorrect, because the aperture did not change, yet more was visible. I'm following what Exo's saying, and I have to say I am a witness to a visible hump. If people are going to deny the visible hump and say it's because it's too far, I seen the beach as I was coming on the road down off the mountain towards the beach on the other island. Once I got to sea level, or near to sea level, the beach was then obscured by what appeared to be a visual hump of water. That is a witness. I swear to God, someone bring me a Bible. It is what I seen, bro. I can even go on Google Maps and find the beaches that I was on and the beaches that I was looking at and the road I took down the hill. I made that observation. I wasn't even talking to y'all on Discord for like 3 weeks.
Welcome to the club.
Speaking of being a witness, were you witness then, Noah? Were you witness then to Larry strawmanning what I said with his words?
I don't know if it was.
Hold on, time out. We gotta get over this, guys. You guys are so weird. If I'm asking you to clarify your point, it can't be a straw man. It's an attempt at a steel man. Once I get you to agree with what I've said, then we can move forward. I'm not going to move forward until I know that I understand what you meant by what you said. So when I ask you a question, just assume that I don't understand what's in your head and I can't read your mind. Capiche?
Well, I don't think that's true. I think that you said, so what you're saying is, which is not really asking a question. It's presenting a straw man as if it's a fact and using a question to slide it into the conversation. And it was clear I wasn't just saying when we go higher we can see more. It was clear that I was responding directly to your point about angular size. And you skated right past that and pretended that your understanding of what I was saying didn't respond directly to your point about angular size. As such, it was a straw man.
I'm gonna have to agree with riding on eggshells with this one, to be honest. That is literally what happened.
Angular resolution is talking about the limitation of our eyesight. That's one variable. So is height. We all know that this is another variable that has to be factored in. So when you move the factor of, well, I didn't have high temperature, I boiled it at low gas pressure, so therefore temperature doesn't have anything to do with it, that's a piss poor argument.
Yeah, so that whoever made that argument made a piss poor argument, but it sounded to me like you made that argument.
You ignored the fact that I was talking about aperture and then adjusted the height and said, see, has nothing to do with aperture. Like the Rayleigh criterion doesn't exist all of a sudden. Is that your argument?
If what you're saying is it becomes too small to be resolvable, then there's multiple rebuttals to that you are not dealing with. You're now going, what about temperature? Right? The first rebuttal Noah gave you was that zoom should negate that, right? Which is just necessarily true because it is narrowing your aperture. So small things that have a smaller angular size get bigger, negating the effect of the Rayleigh criterion. My point was, if I go up and down, I haven't changed my linear distance to a distant breaker smashing against a headland. So that factor has now been proven to not be the thing that causes me to not see a distant headland. Now you're going, oh, but the going up and the temperature, these other things could do it, which is fine, but you would have to then retreat from the point where you no longer hold to the idea that it's aperture, or you need to respond to the rebuttals we've got for aperture. You can't just pretend it's still true despite the fact that we both debunked it.
Okay, you said if that would have been an argument that I made, insinuating that I'm strawmanning you again, when it's my argument that aperture and height are equivalent to temperature and pressure when it comes to boiling water, because they're both factors. They both have to be factored in. So my argument was that if you say, look, it's boiling at a low temperature, therefore heat has nothing to do with it. That was my argument coming out of my mouth. How could it be strawmanning you, bro?
But eggshells actually isolated for aperture by having the same aperture but changing the height. So the aperture was the same the whole time, but the height changed. That's crazy.
It has nothing to do with my claim. Mine was about aperture.
I see you, eggshells.
Yeah, thank you. So what you'd have to say now, Larry, is, okay, it's not aperture, or it is still aperture in conjunction with elevation, and here's how that works, right? But you haven't presented any reason why aperture would be being affected when the aperture of the camera is remaining the same. Why aperture is being affected by height. It sounds like what you're saying is there are many effects, and whichever one you're not currently testing, I'm going to pretend it's the other one.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Starting to sound like that.
Okay, well, you can smuggle that in if you like. But what I'm actually saying is that the Rayleigh criterion is true, and it affects how far we can see or resolve, right? So also, the height also has to be taken into consideration. And also the angle between the middle of your eyesight and the surface, and the angle of the middle of your eyesight and the sky's the limit. So of course things are going to be cut off near the bottom because the angle between, well, let's say I was about 8 to 12 inches above the surface of the water. How big of an angle is that compared to the angle between the middle of my eyesight and the sky being the limit?
Oh, thank you, Whitsit. Thank you, Whitsit. It's been at least a week since I've heard Whitsit say that.
Wait, you've heard? I think you would just need to this perspective as it works in your head.
So can you address what I said instead of what Whitsit said? Because I'm not.
You said the same damn thing. You just parroted his bullshit.
I think you need to know.
Am I also Lemonbird? Like, are you one of those people that he's literally Hitler? Are you?
Yeah, Lemonbird was good at this too.
I got questions about this. Yeah, let's not go with it, Jake. Let's not go with it thing. But how? So, I think you get in principle that if we were on a curved surface, going up would necessarily mean you see further around the ball. But I should, if the Earth is curved, see distant headlands, and when the drone is quite low, I can only see the top of the headland, and I definitely can't see the foamy white breakers smashing against the rocks. And then if I rose up, I would see around a curve, and I would see further on the other side. Whereas to me, perspective on a flat thing would mean they would all line up like a gun sight when I'm down at water level. I could put LED lights on every single headland right where the breakers are smashing, and all of those lights should line up in a neat little line. Right. So what perspective are you talking about? It sounds like the Rayleigh criterion and angular size isn't really a factor anymore. So let's push that aside and go, what are you seeing differently in perspective that would disagree with what I'm saying there?
Of course, you're going to ignore my claim.
Say again, you cut out for me.
It's Raleigh criteria stuff, and the hyperbolic vision is all a bunch of Whitsett's imagination.
Yeah, Whitsett tried to model it though for a bit. Like he did start trying to construct this way in which, you know, stuff could curve and create. Because he was big on this when he discovered that most vision is mapped as a sphere. He got really excited about it, being like, "That's why it looks like we're on a sphere, because vision is spherical." And then I think it got somewhat demolished by the fact that a bit more research, and he found that actually everybody already knows this. Optics already treats it that way. That's what field of view is measured in degrees, and it doesn't change the shape of the Earth.
Yeah, we've known about optics for what, 2 centuries at least.
If it's an angular resolution thing, makes shit get obstructed from bottom up. Wouldn't a 640 by 40 megapixel, 640 by 480 webcam make the horizon look really fucking close?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This destruction at the, whatever this field.
Hey, flat earthers, this 2025 bottom up obstruction for you is upwards refraction.
No, it's not. Upwards refraction.
Welcome to 2025.
No, here we go.
I have to agree with that.
Now we got upwards refraction, which is never.
I don't know if I would use the word refraction. So that's a loaded term.
If we lived on the concave Earth, though, wouldn't it look like ring
what
world?
Flat Earth
Halo?
needs is a consistent upwards refraction, regardless of the atmosphere. And this upwards refraction will make things appear lower and lower the further and further.
That's where it
is away from the observer.
I seen you coming
This will give you a
in
consistent sinking effect, which you will need.
I knew it.
You guys are gate kept, though. It is what it is. Back to the show of going nowhere. Let's go.
How did you isolate
how you see upward? How does upward refraction make you see less? It should make you. See
I'm gonna have to agree with Globe Breaker's concave or whatever the fuck his name is.
How did you
about the upward
it?
refraction? But I just wouldn't put it as refraction. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, it doesn't exist. There's no way to refract up most of the time, because light refracts toward the denser medium, which is down for reasons that
As far as diagramming upwards refraction and downwards refraction.
All right, I'm gonna mute Democ. I can't do this anymore.
Thank you.
No, I'm muting him on my end. You're fucked.
Yeah, Democ's muted on my end and NASA show. Fuck
yeah, of course you gotta mute me because
NASA show's been muted for me for like
I am
a
now
year
muting NASA show.
Yeah, it makes sense. Mute me.
I muted Dogs or Gods and NASA show about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It's been the greatest thing ever. It's really just the greatest thing I've ever decided to do on Discord.
Right, that way you can ignore reality and just have your head up your ass.
Oh God, it's happening.
Yeah,
So what do you think about I kind of hijacked your question for Larry, but it sounds like Larry might have been driving and dropped out of cell reception. Oh, because I wanted to hand it back to Noah because it was Noah's question about what about the observable hump.
What do I think about it? I mean, I've witnessed it. I know it's real.
So you said you wanted to swear on the Bible?
Oh,
no?
Someone.
Yeah, that I witnessed what I witnessed. Yeah, I 100% recounted accurately and truthfully what I've seen. Yeah, 100%.
So you want to swear on the Bible that you've never read it because it tells you not to swear on it?
Oh fuck!
Oh my God! It's not time for Protestant debate hour.
I'm just saying you never read it, but you want to swear.
I just read the Bible today. You are so ignorant to claim that I don't read the Bible when I just read it today. That is just an ignorant false statement from you. I've heard that before, bro.
So
I understand you have a particular interpretation of the Bible where you
no wonder
think
Noah's been talking over me. He's got me muted.
I understand you have a particular interpretation of the Bible, but I've heard that one before. I've read.
Yeah, it can't be that. It can't be that absolute a rule if they get people to do it in court. It's sounding a little bit fundamentalist to stick to hold people to your interpretation of the Bible.
Well, it says not to swear on anything above the earth, on the earth. Right. So,
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
and
if I were a fundamentalist, I would hold to that view. I would say it's fundamentally true, and nobody else is allowed to have a different opinion on it. But I'm not, so I don't.
No, this
but I still think we need to get to the question of the hump. The hump does.
So what's the metaphor?
Got videos of it.
What's the metaphor in that? Like, if it's not fundamental, like it's got to be a metaphor, right?
It could be.
It
could be saying don't use swear words. It could be saying I don't know. I've got no idea. I think the whole book's full of disagreements with itself.
No swear words, guy.
Fair enough.
Like I think taking it literally is a really modern issue. I don't think it was taken literally back in the day.
I believe it's in Matthew, and it does say something about do not swear upon the Bible or something of that nature. I can't remember the exact quote.
Yeah, I think they're trying to say Bible because it wasn't on the Bible.
Yeah, it says don't swear on anything in heaven and earth. Let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. But it definitely doesn't say don't swear on the Bible, as the Bible didn't exist when the Bible was written.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, the idea is don't swear on anything. So, Bible included.
Yeah, that would encompass everything.
But my point is, if they get people to do it in court, it can't be such a commonly held view amongst Christians if large numbers of Christians
they can't force you to swear on the Bible in court.
Yeah, they say swear or affirm. I solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So we go.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to swear on the Bible. I'm just saying large collections of Christians use swearing on the Bible as a tool. Therefore, it can't be too widely a held view that is not.
The interesting part is right before that they talk about divorce, and of course, that one is up to interpretation too.
No, it's not. I've been married for 20 years. Married one woman, not two.
Yeah, like I said though, but you guys accept divorce.
Divorces.
But you accept divorce. Oh, your friends are divorced? Your friends are divorced? Do you ostracize them?
No, I don't accept it. I don't have any friends. I don't like people.
Okay. I can see
just gonna screw you over.
Oh, Jesus. That's sad. That's made me real sad. This is saying that it's not about not allowing you to take oaths or them being immoral, but rather making a point saying if you live with such integrity, then you don't need to. You just say yes, and that means yes, or no, and that means no, and your word is good.
That's a far leap for me.
Yeah,
I literally learned that in Christian elementary school. That exact interpretation of it.
Yeah, I would never put that together. I think that's just way too far of a leap for what the word actually says.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not holding to it.
It's not really a prohibition. It's kind of.
Don't you believe the whole New Testament is false? So how are you going to be interpreting?
The New Testament is false?
Why do we always end up back at religion? I wanted to talk about the hump.
It's the most important subject.
Oh, yeah, that's Noah. You can't talk to me because he's got me muted.
If you came to the view that the Bible was false or contained things that were false, would that change your view about the shape of the earth?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly do not know, because there's things that I thought about myself when a certain situation arises, that I would do something or act some way or speak in some. It's very hard to actually predict my own responses to things. So I don't know how it would change my worldview. I don't know what it would do. I really don't.
That's a really good answer. I like that.
I feel like I'd get banned from Geos if I use an answer like that.
So what happened with Geos? Why is the population down so low?
Because we're all over here.
People kept saying it was something to do with a faction between Christians wanting to talk Christianity or something, and the flat earthers then spending more and more time elsewhere. But I haven't been there enough to speak on it. But
so because of freedom of speech and freedom of religion, an atheist server is depopulated?
That's exactly what I said and how I said it. I'm impressed with how well you steel man my.
Well, Gio's an atheist, right? Gio doesn't have a god.
I don't think that's true. I think he believes in a higher power.
No, I don't think he does.
Like I certainly don't think he holds to a specifically Christian worldview, but I think he believes in a higher power or creator.
Isn't he like a psychoanalyst or a shrink?
Wait, no, that's a straw man. Gio is very clearly a pantheist. He said it multiple times. He may not say I'm a pantheist, but what he says is the universe is God and everything is God, which is quite literally pantheism. We're all God, the universe is God, everything is God is quite literally the doctrine of pantheism. He's a pantheist, not an atheist.
Okay, I stand corrected. I'm not a straw man because it was a misconception that I had. I wasn't putting words in anybody's mouth. I thought he was an atheist.
Yeah, I wasn't saying he was strawmanning by calling him an atheist. I think it was a reasonable question.
Yeah, so a pantheist lost the population to his server because of freedom of religion and speech.
That's not what happened.
That's not what happened. Yeah, that's just not what happened. What the fuck?
It's not a straw man. I'm trying to understand, guys. You guys are so fucking sensitive when it comes to straw man. Here's an example of straw man. This
I never said it was a straw man. I just said that just wasn't what happened. Just inaccurate. An inaccurate portrayal of what happened.
That means I got it wrong. So what happened?
I think there was freedom of
time to time, people don't go to Geo server because other servers become popping, and then usually they eventually go back because the other servers get shut down. Some drama happened.
But what happened to Geo server?
Well, I know a bunch of people don't frequent there anymore because they feel as they're being treated unfairly.
Yeah, I spend much time there because I get like Jerry says nasty things about me in the chat. If I criticize that, he'll kick me out, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just spend less time here.
Geo has been a little more authoritarian, would be the word I guess I would use recently. Yeah. Not towards me, but everyone's been saying it, so I believe they have a reason for saying that.
That was my
direct. So he's been too strict on people's speech now.
If you want my opinion,
directing topics, is that kind of what he's trying to do? Is like direct the topics discussed on the server?
Dude, I can break it down in like 3 sentences. Globers feel like they're over moderated. Lion got ran off. SE got ran off. Lion and SE like held up a bunch of the conversations since the Globers don't want to come around because they feel like they're being over modded. And then Witsit disappeared, and Flat Earth is sort of squandering now.
And I think the other one I would add to it is I think that generally amongst the entire Flat Earth community, there was a really big issue when TFE happened, and all of the Earth servers had to pick whether they thought it was fake or not, and that caused a lot of tension in the server because people who were claiming that Witsit didn't go there were friends with Witsit while Witsit was in the server, and it was causing big issues. And so pretty much at December, every Flat Earth server had some factional issue.
That's true, and Geo sided with Geo definitely sided with Witsit. Anyone who was saying FTFE was faked basically got trampled on, essentially.
So Witsit went to Antarctica and this divided and conquered the server?
Certainly the discussions that were then had about it and the people's views on what was true, because it all turned into like lots and lots of transvestigations where like Yasuke was on it and a few where it was like some people were holding to the view that not anybody who went to Antarctica, including the whole team at Union Glacier or wherever they filmed it, must be trans, and anybody who agrees with them and supports them also must be trans. And it was pretty interesting.
I wouldn't put too much thought or stock behind any of this. Like, it's happened countless of times. Just like Noah said, people go away, they hang out at other servers, and then everyone always ends up going back to Geo server. So I wouldn't like put too much stock in any of it.
Yeah, this has happened multiple times before. With multiple servers that popped up that were popping.
Well, I'm all for the diversity in servers. You guys, more power to you. I hope that you prosper here, and I hope that you get a bigger audience. And and debates should be everywhere. So I'm not picking sides, especially with the Witsit thing. I'm just indifferent. Like, I don't know what it has to do with the shape of the Earth. I don't know why people bring it up so much. And I don't know why people can't just say, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah, but you don't think it's got anything to do with the shape of the Earth? Because, like, it's a core thing that, like, Eric Dubay, Samuel Rowbotham, like, the big original flat earthers, including Nathan Oakley, like, I could just keep listing David Weiss, many of them necessarily rejected the existence of the sun at the South Pole, which doesn't mean you have to, but I think it is incumbent upon you then to acknowledge the importance of the observation that you can see a sun go around you like a hula hoop at two different points on this Earth, and that does have some indication of the shape.
Yeah, they realize the importance of it, and in their imagination, they built a wall around Antarctica.
Yeah.
So who can verify? Who has the ability, the money to go? Like, if we wanted to go, who here could pay for all of us to go and verify?
They just did it.
You could
You're
do
a little
it
late
yourself.
to the party.
Like, it costs about the same as a
totally different than taking received ideas from someone else. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. You weren't
Well,
there.
if it's your burning desire, put up the money and go.
Yeah,
I think it was his
I just
boss.
want to say,
What do you
I just
want
want
me
to say,
do?
as
Sell
far
my
as
house
transvestigations go, that girl that went with Wits at them is hella sus.
lots of people saying that.
Apparently, she's a Glover now.
Is that
People
true
immediately
though? Is she
started
actually a
suspecting
Glover?
Witsit was as well because he wouldn't take the girl.
Tell me that.
in public.
I've heard.
When did
I heard
TFU
her
become a
basically
trans
used-
conversation?
2 minutes after they posted the first photo.
The moment the sun completed its lap, they were like, "Okay, they've all got vaginas."
No. The moment that
100%.
girl won the moment that girl won the golden ticket, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I've never seen her before or since, and if there's gonna be a case for someone being a tranny, that's it.
That was
I really
weird.
want to
That whole
see
thing.
footage of Witsit going upstairs for some reason.
She was like
Climbing
nobody in the
stairs to check his
community.
gate.
You know,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna bring this girl," and then they have some elaborate thing where it's like a appeal to emotion to justify her going. It's like that's just illogical.
I was hella
like a bunch
sus.
of men.
That
Yeah, it
chick
was
and her
wicked
presence
stupid.
and the whole thing, it was really, yeah, I'd agree. It's really weird, bro. To me, that was
Like-
the weirdest thing actually of the whole thing. Well, there's other weird shit like Vapegate. That was also hella weird, the whole Vapegate
She
thing.
was
That
the
was
only
weird
one
as
that
fuck.
spoke Spanish, though.
It's
so that seems like
illogical,
a
though.
useful person to have on your team.
But it's illogical from every sense. You know, like the whole justification was because some dude in her chat trolled her, right? So because she got trolled, therefore she can go. Like that's the logic what it came down to.
It's a dude
I
from Jaren's chat, though. It wasn't like just a nobody.
Well, allegedly, right?
Seems pretty conclusive. Like
he was like
there are
one
recordings
of
of
his.
him talking about it himself.
Yeah,
having
but
done it.
did you investigate? Did you just go along with the same story
one of
I
his
heard? You know what I
members.
mean?
No, I heard it from this guy's mouth, and it's the same guy.
All right, fair enough. So because of that, like she goes and she's like nobody. You know what I
she's
mean?
hella
Like,
sus.
Like, what does she contribute to the flat Earth society where she's engaging in the actual topics that are being discussed? You know what I mean? Like her value.
She translated all of their dinner orders in Point Aries.
Well, oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Why does it matter?
Well, I'll tell you why it matters. I mean, she went because they started running out of flat Earth takers, like the bigwigs ran. They hiked up their hoop skirts and hopped out of town.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a claim. You know what I mean? Come on.
A claim. David Weiss. David Weiss declined. Nathan Oakley declined. Who else?
No, Nathan. See, that's the thing. Like, it's a claim. It's like, can you prove that Nathan
Eric
Oakley
Dubay declined.
Like, that's what
Mark
what's his name
Sargent
said.
declined.
He invited Nathan, right? But there's never been evidence of an email interaction, right? So
Dave
that
Weiss
means
has confirmed he said no.
That's a lie.
Even if just Dave Weiss said no,
yeah, but when you listen off a bunch of names, you can't just say, "Hey, this guy, that guy, this guy," without any proof, or it's just like a baseless assertion.
Go ask Nathan.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
public.
explain to you. Nathan claims the exact opposite of what you're saying, and nobody's ever demonstrated proof of an interaction with
Nathan
Nathan where
Oakley
he
wasn't invited.
declined. So
Maybe
why are
Nathan
you
Oakley was
claiming
skipped.
it's true? Like, just
No,
stick to factual stuff, man. It's so much
Maybe
easier.
Nathan Oakley didn't go, but did he volunteer? Did he lobby for a seat?
Yeah, but just stick to like factual stuff. It
No,
just makes a better
Simultaneously,
conversation.
none of those bigwigs have
let me just
claimed
say
that they weren't asked.
he was a scoffer.
Has Nathan Oakley ever said, they didn't ask me? Has he
Apparently
denied
yes.
that he was asked?
Yes.
Rigger's saying.
Yes, he was
Rigger,
accused of denying it, and he says, I was never invited.
the problem with that is
true or
He
he's
was
lying.
never invited.
the problem
That's
with
fine.
that is he's only said that since the event, right? At the time, whether he got an email or not is kind of secondary because it's private, and then we'd have to doubt the veracity of the email. But what we know is Will Duffy was posting videos openly inviting him. And if at that time Nathan Oakley was willing to go and was like, hey, the guy's not really inviting me, he could have made a massive deal about it and exposed the whole thing and just said, I'm willing to go. I'm ready to go to Antarctica. This guy claiming he's inviting me, but then I email him and he won't respond.
Because he
But that
didn't do
happen.
what you think he should have did, that means that
Because
Well,
he
what I'm
himself
saying is,
said years
he's
just
now
follow the logic,
he
man.
would jump on
he's
it.
now, but think about it. If he's now claiming, oh, it's really sus, they said they invited me, but they didn't. Why would you wait until after the whole event to do that?
Yeah, but my point is, the only point I'm trying to make here, right, is this is pure speculation. That's it. I just think
Well,
if
when
we
it
stick
comes-
to like
when it-
actual things, if we're gonna accuse people of doing something, we should be damn well sure that it's true instead of just making baseless claims. That
well,
we
when
like,
it comes to Oakley,
it's all guesswork, right?
When it comes to Oakley, he's guilty until proven guiltier.
Yeah, I mean, it's
If I
fine.
may-
If that's how you feel, that's fine.
If I may say, you are both little wrong and right at the same time. Because Will Duffy makes the open video nominating the 24 Flat Earthers. So that is kind of telling that you can be asked. But after it was in the YouTube, it was some poll to tell who to ask first. And it has been Dave Rice, and after it has been Geran. And as soon as the poll was finished, and the one of the Flat Earther and the Glober tell that he is willing to go, the poll was closed. They didn't formally invite after everyone when the poll was telling people want this Flat Earther or this Glober to go. So here your argument is a little bit useless to ask. They have been asked by the video that they were nominated and they can be asked. But as soon as one has been decided, it was not asked properly by email.
Red Cloud. Wash your hands.
I'm not fully hearing you, Nico. Can you say that again? The last part?
Oh, come on, Eggs.
I didn't hear it. I didn't understand. Oh, can you summarize
any of it?
But he sounds like he's saying the poll, which, yeah, he started off by saying, I want to take flat earthers. You vote for who the most popular ones are. And if they get enough votes, they're invited. And all of the big ones got an invite. And then they all had reasons why, after claiming for years that it would settle the debate and making unequivocal claims about there not being a 24-hour sun, despite the multitude of videos showing it.
Yeah,
They
guys
suddenly-
like Dave Rice, I think you should hold them to the fire. Like, absolutely, 100%. This dude was promoting the ice wall. Like, dude, the fact that you didn't want to go and you thought there was an ice wall and your whole worldview revolved around the sun not being a reality and then declining a trip, I'd be like, give me a +1 and we'll do it.
That guy's been sus. The guy named Flat Earth Dave, Fed, F-E-D, Fed, has always been sus. And you should think he's sus, Glober or Flat Earther.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I just try not to do that because I think it's too easy to think that the other side is sus. Everybody thinks their opponents are sort of baddies.
I don't think
But
you're
think that-
sus. I think you're an actual guy that actually means what he says. Sometimes I think you're incorrect, but I don't think you're sus. I don't think a lot of people are not sus.
Dave
But
has
people
got my
like
sus
Fed
vote.
Weiss are fucking sus.
Yeah, here's a bit.
He's definitely got my sus vote.
Isn't that what you're saying also true of Nathan Oakley? Like Nathan Oakley many times has been recorded denying the existence of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica and opining about how we're not allowed to go below the 60th parallel. Admittedly, he does say freely explore below there, but I think to go down well below the 60th parallel to make observations is still a pretty big tick. Like, to me, it's egregious that they even needed to be invited when this was publicly available, that they hadn't just done a Kickstarter and gone there a decade ago is sus. But then when somebody coughs up the cash and says you can come, it's totally free, they still don't want to go. That smells to me like somebody who knows they're not living on a flat plane and they don't want to suffer.
But they were smart. They knew that they would be ostracized.
Right. Speculation. So
no, not
I
speculation.
can't accept your
happened.
premise because
Look
I
what
don't
happened.
know. You know, like I haven't seen the videos of him. You know, him saying, "Oh,
There's
there'll
one in
never
the
be a
chat.
sun." Yeah.
There's one in the chat, 6 minutes past the hour of, I mean, it's subtitled GIF, but
Right.
there's multiple times. Admittedly, he's laid off it a bit over the last few years. You've got to reach a little bit further back into his archive, but he's never disavowed those positions or changed them. He's just spoken less about them.
Well, I know from what I understand his stance to be, he said, you know, he believes, or the way he sees it is, it's not going to change anything. You know, like I understand, like the sun, I don't think it's going to do this. Maybe it could, you know, but it's irrelevant to the shape of the Earth, right?
Nah, he was pretty adamant. He was pretty adamant, and now he's a scoffer. He
Well, you'd have to show
excommunicated
me that.
Whitsit.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he excommunicated Whitsit. Now he's scoffing at it.
but you'd have to
And I
show
don't
me
think
that
that-
he was
Well,
adamant
you'd have to
about
look
there being
for
an
it.
ice wall,
He
and
was
then there
definitely
being
adamant.
no possibility of a
Adamant.
sun.
Adamant. It was like
Well,
the
show it.
first law of Oakley.
Because that's what I mean. Like, share that information with me so I can get on your team.
7 minutes
Dude,
past
I
the
don't
hour.
archive people like Oakley.
7 minutes past the hour. It's posted.
So Oakley miscommunicate. Oh, sorry. Say it again. Oakley did what?
What is this? This is like off a decline. What is this?
Oakley excommunicated Whitsit. Is that what your claim is?
Sounded like
Live on air.
Okay. Oakley did like Whitsit for like a year before that. What are you talking about?
Don't
No,
look at me.
actually,
I'm just
it's
telling you what
hard to
happened.
watch.
Who
Oakley
cares?
and
It just sounds
Whitsit,
like a bunch of drama.
Yeah, it
Let's get
is.
to the
But
bottom of.
you got to say the true thing, right? Oakley and Whitsit didn't get along for a long time before they ever went.
That's fine
You
with
don't
me.
have
I
to.
don't
You
care.
don't have to say the true thing if it's the whole thing is just a vain pursuit and drama. It doesn't really even matter.
It just seems like you guys are kind of lambasting claims. Like all these guys.
When's the video from? Holy shit, he looks young, huh?
All I'm saying, it smelled like group
Hold on,
cowardice.
I don't think you guys can hear.
A lot of people, these
Okay,
guys
there
have
we go.
ignored everybody.
There we go.
Briggs, you got cut out.
And we've got
No,
Dean
I'm
Odell.
good.
We have Dean Odell at the debate saying, you know, hey, just go to Antarctica right now and see the 24-hour sun. If there's a 24-hour sun, you're right. And he was offered a trip and he turned it down.
Yeah,
But yeah, no. People who thought FTFE was fake were like pretty much not allowed to say that on Geos.
This wasn't FTF.
Like you could say it, but essentially you would just
FTFE.
get absolutely attacked and not have any way of like recoursing at all.
I think
someone tell
definitely
Noah
split the
that
community.
someone tell Noah that FTFE and the final experiment are fight the flat Earth and the final experiment are different.
I think that Phil Rigger, when you say I don't think the sun goes around, but it doesn't mean anything anyway, I think you're not quite, but getting close to eating your cake and having it too, where it's obvious that the reason you would deny a 24-hour sun in the south is that it is necessary and compatible with the globe and nigh on impossible to make compatible with flat. And that's the reason it's mentioned by so many times by, what's his name, Eric Dubay. That's the reason it's specifically mentioned by Samuel Rowbotham. And I think you can go...
Well, it debunks the AE, right? It debunks
mean
the
anything.
AE.
But then it seems, if you say it doesn't mean anything if there's a 24-hour sun, it seems like the logical conclusion is to go, well, then there probably is one, a 24-hour sun down there. Because otherwise what you're suggesting is the powers that be are faking a sun for no purpose.
Yeah, but what do you?
Yeah,
what
well,
are you really doing by
wait. I
it?
want to push back on that. I want to push back on that because they kind of faked a moon landing for like
Oh,
really no
no,
purpose.
they didn't. My
Well,
God.
that I agree with. I agree 100%. They faked that shit because nothing in there looks fucking real. It
You're
just
on,
looks
a,
like
you're on
like
an,
a
you're on an
shitty
alien
movie.
world. You're on an alien
I see more
world. And you want,
realistic shit in a movie.
stop.
Like, put yourself in my shoes, eggshells.
God damn it, Noah! You gotta stop talking
In
over me
that-
just because you have me ignored.
I don't think the moon landing. Okay, I don't think the moon landing are real. I don't really know the particular reason why they faked it, but I would assume it would be along the same lines for the reason why they would fake a second sun or a whatever, a rotating sun in the South Pole or whatever.
No, why did
But
they?
I don't think that would
why
be
did
the
they
case.
fake
There are
Apollo
many
13?
reasons to fake the moon landing, but which like the reasons you would fake something. Think about anything anybody's ever faked in history, and you're going to go, well, it's to avoid loss or to gain something. And there's many reasons you would gain something by faking the moon landing. And there are many reasons why you would fake a sun in Antarctica, but only if it were deeply meaningful that there was a sun in Antarctica. It doesn't make sense to say it doesn't mean anything. There's no indication of anything from this sun, and they've faked it. So you have to massive coordinated operation to do something pointless.
It is meaningful because the gold model makes a necessary claim of there being a 24-hour sun in the south. If there wasn't, gold model debunked. So it is actually a very important question, but it's not. I don't think it's a question that really debunks FE though.
It does though.
Like it was kind of like a Jesse path of light type of experiment where it could only really debunk one side. So really,
it could debunk both sides because there's no way to happen on the flat Earth.
It debunks the AE map, NASA.
Then what's your model? If the AE map isn't your model, what is the model?
Make a comment.
That's the funniest part.
Go for it.
The AE map is presented as the flat Earth map, and what is it then?
That's not.
We haven't said that since like
who's the
2015 when
authority?
we figured out that the AE map wasn't.
Whenever anybody presents a map from the flatter side, it's an AE map.
That's true, but I don't think that means we can stick them to it. I think Noah's right, which is the globe side's the one with a model. We've got a radius, we've got the poles, we've got lines of latitude, we've got all these things that clearly make predictions. And then if you go and test those predictions and they're false, you can debunk it. But Flat Earth proudly boasts about not having a model. And as such, you can't debunk it because there's nothing to test. There's no thing that you can do that will have a prediction in reality.
And that's scientifically
the fact that they don't have a model is
there's no
the scientific method to debunk it.
There's no mainstream authoritative for the flat Earth, right? So you're kind of trying to like make it so the flat Earth has. Well, I don't know who the fuck it is, but it ain't me. So they don't really have that authoritative establishment, and the globe does. So the establishment's getting attacked, right? But then you're trying to attack the establishment of flat Earth, but it's like it doesn't exist. You know,
and they think that by saying
But
we
the
don't have a
reason that
model.
doesn't exist in Flat Earth is because there's a reason that doesn't exist, right? It's a great way to detect bullshit, I think. If you want to tell if something is pseudoscientific bullshit, a really easy way to do it is see if you can test it at all. And generally, most pseudoscience, subconsciously, I don't think it's out of malice, but subconsciously will gravitate towards being an untestable phenomenon. And that's exactly where the flat Earth is, because the flat Earth used to have models, right?
I
It used
agree
to
with
have
that.
bones that they solved.
I agree with that, but there's a problem with that in that
what-
all knowledge does not fall under the purview of the scientific method. There are certain truths there are certain truths that cannot be uncovered by the scientific method.
Yeah,
all of
right.
knowledge is not contained.
Fine,
within
we're not talking about
scientific method.
we're not talking about religion here. We're talking about science. If you can't show it, if you can't prove it, it's not science.
And if you've got another method outside the scientific method, go right ahead. Let's see your results. But
there's many fields of inquiry and knowledge that aren't science. History, math, politics. There's all kinds of science of knowledge.
Yeah, don't tell me.
Go to a university and look at all the subjects that are not chemistry, physics, and biology, And even some of biology doesn't even, and some of physics doesn't even follow the scientific method.
Oh, fuck off.
Not
Now
even
you're full
all
of
of the
shit.
hard science follows the scientific method. So
Great,
you,
great.
sir, are just
So
an
you've got,
ignorant man.
so
And
you've
you,
got
sir, are
a
an
wooden.
ignorant man. You're ignorant of
So hold
all
on,
fields
hold
of
on,
knowledge.
hold on. I'll
and this
answer
You're
you.
moron,
ignorant of entire fields of knowledge, sir.
and this
You are
moron
very
says he's a
ignorant, sir.
physics. This
You're
moron says he's a
extremely
PhD
ignorant.
in
You,
physics.
sir, are probably a pseudoscientist yourself, thinking that everything can be known through the scientific method.
No, he's like, I'm muted, so I'll fucking talk over when I wanted to.
So
All
it sounds
hard
like
sciences follow the scientific method.
so it sounds like you've
All
got
of them.
1,000 avenues to pursue. Why don't you pursue one of them at least?
Funding, I would say
When,
maybe funding.
Funding?
Like you give. No. I mean, you're asking a question. I'm
What a
giving you a
map.
genuine answer. Like
This
it's.
guy's
I think
denying
you would
all.
get
This
more
guy's denying
development.
all knowledge outside of the scientific method. He's so ignorant.
Well, I just said if you've got a better way,
You are
why
the
don't
definition of
you
a
have results?
pseudoscientist.
Why
You're the
don't you
definition
have
of a
results?
pseudoscientist. You are the definition
Where are
of a
your results?
pseudoscientist.
Where
Go
are
look
your
up
results?
pseudoscientist. Go look up pseudoscientist on Google, and that's what you are.
Where are your results?
Results for what? I don't fucking work for you. What do you want? A profit out of me, you dumbass? Fucking
Oh,
goofy
fuck
ass
yourself.
motherfucker, pseudoscientist, goofy ass
Yeah, here's
pseudoscientist.
the guy, asshole.
Goofy ass
When
pseudoscientist over
when
there.
morons
I mean,
like
laugh
when
at the
morons,
truth.
God,
Laugh at
okay,
the
go
truth,
ahead,
bro.
talk over me, Noah. I was actually
The
talking,
truth is
Noah.
funny, isn't it?
You have me muted, so you don't pay attention.
Because if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry.
So I'm going to talk over you for a while until I get muted or something.
God. Can we take it back to somewhere?
And
So-
when Flat Earthers
This guy's
said,
just massively
God
ignorant.
damn it,
coming in
Noah,
as
pay attention.
extremely
You
arrogant.
got me
It's
muted
just
yet. At least pay attention to my
crazy.
green light. I'm tired of this shit.
I think we both are. If it's just going to be insults, mate, you could both just take a breath. Rigger, do you get my point on it doesn't make sense to both say it doesn't mean anything and it's fake? Because as Noah's saying, it's a
I
meaningful...
disagree with the logical conclusion you come to, right? Where it's like, oh, because of this, therefore all of it is wrong. Like I just disagree with that, you know?
That's the conclusion you made. I think what it was a really good test of the globe, which is the globe necessitated that
guys,
be there.
make sure everybody has a chance to get in. That includes Taylor. All right.
Sorry, I couldn't even hear you, Taylor. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's just,
I
yeah.
told
Taylor's here.
I kind of
Oh yeah, your audio is not great.
Oh, really?
Because
Oh,
I don't
man.
have my registration yet.
Yeah.
They might have mailed it
Talking about
with your name on it, but I looked through the mail that I could like find today, and I didn't.
Get the mailbox at the post office. That's the address I have on all my stuff.
I see
Like when
spin.
you get your registration.
Are we talking to
we
this
gonna-
guy or what's going on here?
There's a guy who's hot micing, talking to like an
I've
Uber
server
or
muted
something.
him.
All right.
I've server muted him. Go for it, Taylor.
So yeah, so in terms of 24-hour sun, like for me, that demonstrated like some local evidence, some evidence for a local sun, because I don't understand how the poles would have complete darkness just because of 23 degrees tilt of the earth. I want to see it modeled. This is the importance of model systems to demonstrate this feasible. And the scientific method is used to establish cause and effect. So if you're gonna say, yeah, the 24-hour sun is caused by the earth tilt, you just need to show that that's possible.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if that's something you want to investigate to check for yourself, I think that could be a good way to do it. I don't think that other people are going to be able to do it for you. But I think Earth is Life has posted a pretty good GIF, which I think really shows the point, which was Jaren's point as well, where he's saying, if I'm standing at this point and looking south, while the sun should be very, very, very far north of me, it's very difficult to make that fit on anything where all of the verticals are parallel. But if you then flip to a globe where every vertical is opposite to a different vertical, then you can go, yeah, absolutely, the sun should go around me like a hula hoop at the poles if it's in summer. But yeah, I'm saying it only tests the globe. It tests the globe in a way the globe could fail, and as with every good globe test, the globe doesn't fail.
Yeah, so it's become more and more scientifically probable.
Yeah.
If you pass the test, then it is more probable that this is a scientific fact.
Yeah. You're saying
So if you're going to say you can only know things through the scientific method, you are basically saying that nobody knew anything before Francis Bacon, which makes you a dumbass, which makes you ignorant as fuck. Because many things way before Sir Francis Bacon came on the scene.
We can't operate without a globe, though.
Yeah,
We
but he
wouldn't
didn't create
exist.
he didn't create the scientific method. That's
Yes, he
just
did.
wrong.
Was it Bacon or was it
Yeah, it was like
I
a
thought
bunch
it
of
was,
people throughout history. Yeah.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
but it was no. There's the scientific method, and there's the general scope of the word science, which just means knowledge in general.
It
When it
didn't
comes
come
to
out.
specifically the scientific method, it did not exist before the 1500s.
Yeah, but it didn't come out of a vacuum. He codified it pretty much.
Right, but I think his point still stands, which is
Yeah,
we've
but
just
it's
now
pseudoscience to think that that's the source of all knowledge. That a single method is the source of all knowledge. You are
Wow.
so
Yeah.
dumbfoundingly incorrect that all philosophers and even scientists would disagree with you.
You haven't
You
presented
can
a
live in
better
your
one.
ignorance. Go ahead, swallow up your ignorance and roll around in it.
You
It's
haven't
really
presented a better one.
Yeah, but why is it wrong
you're
having that
fucking
as a
ignorant,
standard?
dude.
But why is it wrong to have a standard?
Because
Like
it can't
some-
answer all questions. It can only
Right.
answer things that are testable.
All right.
It literally,
but it
by
can-
its
Put
own
on your
nature,
other methods.
by its
It doesn't
own
answer.
nature, it admits that it cannot answer all questions. The people who
Doesn't
invented
answer
it
questions.
tell you it can't answer all questions. The people who use it today tell you it can't answer all questions. Yet some dumbass on this fucking VC thinks otherwise than all the other smart people in scholastic and scientific intrigue throughout all time. He thinks he's
I know.
smarter than everyone.
Oh my God, motor mouth, shit.
And for answer the question of whether or not the Earth is flat.
Nobody said that.
I'm just gonna say motor mouth. That is exactly what you said.
Okay,
Can
Let me finish that.
philosophy answer whether or not the Earth is flat?
Can philosophy answer whether or not? Presumably, yeah.
well, go for it.
It can.
You could
Scientific
obviously
method is
make you
part
could,
of philosophy. It's natural
right, you could
philosophy.
make yeah, you could make a deductive argument for why it's flat. Like that's all you're asking, right?
Yeah, I think that we wank ourselves too silly talking about science when none of us really do it. Taylor's done a good impression of it with some chemistry she was doing, but I think the number of people who do anything approaching real science is so close to zero. It's not really worth discussing. Whereas like observation,
Scientific method is quite literally under the category of natural philosophy, which is in fact a philosophy.
Correct.
That's like saying philosophy is like
Science, natural philosophy in centuries.
Wait, hold on. Say that again.
Nobody heard
Parks.
anything.
We haven't called science natural philosophy in centuries. In fact, we haven't called it natural philosophy since the scientific method has been fully adopted.
Wait, so now someone's admitting that the scientific method didn't always exist when someone else was saying that it didn't evolve in a vacuum and it's always been here. So now you guys have your own disagreement within your own camp. Y'all contradicted each other.
Oh my God! What a a-hole you are.
And you still don't have a better method.
I definitely do agree that Noah is
Sitting there and saying there's not a better method is the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
You don't have a better method. If you're
Yes, there's all kinds of methods.
why don't you show us one?
Yes, there's all
some
kinds of
results?
methods.
Philosophy, because you can't come up with a test to actually demonstrate whether or not your philosophical argument is correct.
And science admits it can't either. Its test doesn't even demonstrate or prove anything.
Incorrect. We have
That's funny.
scientific experiments. We have data that indicates that the Earth is not flat. That it is, in fact,
Okay, now you're
curved
moving the
one way or another.
goalpost. Now you're moving the goalpost to flat Earth.
I wish I
Wait, real quick.
We're talking specifically on the philosophy of science. Now you're moving it over to something else.
I would say real quick, Noah, that I think they do complement each other, right? Like philosophy has to work well. Science, I would say, more so has to lean on philosophy in order for it to be finally like successful.
Science is philosophy.
If you guys
Scientific method uses inductive reasoning. Reasoning is
Oh my
part of
God!
philosophy.
I wish I were half.
You guys are fucking. Whoever the guys that are ignoring this are so ignorant. It's so funny, bro.
I'm
You shouldn't
agreeing
be
with
allowed to
you.
speak on shit.
Oh
No, I'm
my
not
God,
saying
but
you. I'm
this-
talking about the other people in here.
For someone who says he's got a PhD in physics, you have your knowledge base is very
PhD. I
lacking.
thought it was undergrad. That's awesome. So, Noah, from some of the things you've said today, is there a chance, I don't mean to straw man, it was a genuine question, are you starting to lean back towards maybe globe?
I'm definitely leaned more towards it than any point previous in the past.
Well, that's why you're
4 years or so.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
If you don't mind me asking, Noah, was there like a initial jumping off point that kind of motivated you towards the flat Earth?
Yeah, just the unveiling of the extreme amount of fakery within media and I guess what you could call scientific intrigue. The amount of lies that people spread. It's completely within the purview that these liars who are notorious and prolific liars could easily lie about the shape of the earth and would have a lot of reason to do. And there's things that they have lied about that are supposed to be like the direct supports of the globe.
All right. Can I ask, where did you get the idea that somebody could, or any group of people could hide the shape of the planet?
Where I get the idea from?
How did you think that was possible?
Good question.
And why can't you go out and measure
Well, it's quite
yourself?
easy, man. Whoever controls cartography pretty much
No
wins
one-
the debate because there's
no one controls
whoever
cartography.
controls space travel and cartography pretty much controls like let's say all of us don't know if it's flat or round. The guys who are at the top of cartography and space travel definitely know that they're either faking something or doing something realistic.
Cartography and
Everyone
space
else
travel
really
isn't
doesn't.
one industry.
Huh?
Cartography and space travel isn't one industry.
Well, it's
Right,
one.
I
It's a
think
field of endeavor. If you can control a field of endeavor, like
Okay.
Who
And
controls? Who controls cartography?
if you can control those fields of endeavor, you can literally convince. If someone lived on a flat Earth, but you had control of cartography and space travel, or fake space travel, you 100% could convince everyone on that thing that you live on a ball, and they wouldn't really
people
have
own-
any
but people
authority to argue
own-
against you.
But people own the
Because there's really no physical tests of you measuring any curvature anywhere. They're all
incorrect.
reliant on visual curvature. They're
In-
all reliant on light. None of them are physical.
Incorrect. Totally incorrect. My God, you cannot be more wrong.
Well, I think the gyro compass, because it's a spinning mass, it doesn't detect curvature, but the necessary consequence, if you accept that like attaching a gyro to a spinning body would necessarily impart torque, which would create precession, which you could use to detect the axis. If those are necessary consequence, then you would say on a flat plane, it must have an axis around which it rotates. Right? All rotation has an axis. And
Yeah, but
what that
where's your
also mean
control?
is-
You would have to take take the gyro from space, spin it up, and then bring it onto the Earth that's rotating, for you to actually have like a control gyro.
Well, I don't follow
Oh
that one. I mean,
no!
other
For
people say
God's sake,
that,
that's
but-
not necessary.
So
Because how are you going to determine if the thing you're spinning is still or spinning to begin with to calibrate your gyroscope?
because I don't think that's true. I think that if I spun up a gyro on a plane doing a barrel roll, once that gyro was at speed, it would still detect the spinning of the plane without me needing to get off the barrel rolling plane.
No, if you calibrated it to be still in a spinning plane, it would show that the plane is still.
I don't think that's the case. I
Are we
don't
talking
think
about the
gyros
mechanical
work.
gyro compass?
Yeah.
Mechanical gyros and or mechanical gyro compass.
I would love to talk about the equations. Like
It all has
how
to do with the
obvious
calibration. You can't calibrate something to a still frame while being on a rotating frame.
I don't think that's the case with gyros. I think that you can always detect rotation, even if the thing you're on is already rotating. Same as like a plane, right? You generally spin up the gyro when the plane turns on, but there's nothing that stops you turning that
No,
on.
the gyroscope was already calibrated before you turn it on. The gyroscope was calibrated when they made it. When they machined it, they calibrated it. When you calibrated it,
Oh, you don't know how gyroscopes
you were
work.
assuming already that you were on a spinning mass, so you calibrated it to the amount you thought it should spin.
No.
The calibration and the machining is the problem with it.
No, that's not how it works.
what
You
that
don't
would
know what you're
require-
talking about. My God, can this guy be more dumb?
God, it's not adding anything, NASA. So
Yeah, I
what
got
that
the.
would
I got
require-
the.
He just keeps on saying
disingenuous guy
dumb
muted.
shit.
But go ahead. Egg.
I know you've got me muted because you're talking over me all the time.
Please, NASA. Fuck.
Yeah, the reason
I can't hear him.
is
That would-
it's all
this is
about
perfect.
controlling
This is
the narrative. So
What that would
NASA and
require-
Dr. God, they both have to
Noah?
like control the narrative, like obsessively control the narrative.
What do
Isn't
you
it
mean
great,
control the
Riggs?
narrative?
Can I just
It's
explain
What do you mean?
NASA?
The fact that he's just talking over me when I try to make a point because he's not paying attention?
So
Isn't
like
that against the rules?
first he totally diverted, and now
There we go. Fine.
there we go.
So what that would necessitate, I think, Noah, is not just that they calibrate it with always reading 15 degrees per hour, but that wouldn't be enough. That would only give you a small portion of the information. What it would also necessitate is that you calibrated that gyro such that it always knew where it was on the Earth, because it would, and what direction it's facing, right? Because it should be detecting an axis that is horizontal at the equator, is parallel to the surface of water at the equator, and is vertical at the poles. So the gyro would need to know what latitude it's at and where was north. And
that's when they calibrate it.
But how
when
would
they
you, how would
calibrate
you
it,
give
they
that information to a gyro?
at the
How would you
latitude
calibrate that?
at the latitude they calibrate it at. They calibrate it for what the spin or rotation is at that latitude when they make it. They say, we're at 15 degrees. We should have this much rotation. When they make the fucking gyro and they machine it out, they already calibrate into it the amount of rotation they think they should be seeing. So it's like a
How could they
perfect
do that, though?
confirmation bias.
But how could they do that? Like the ship's gyro compass goes all over the world, and all you plug in.
No.
is
The
latitude
gyro.
and the speed of the ship, but it knows where.
If you do it for one latitude, the gyro will compensate for whichever latitude you're at after.
So then how does it know where north is? Can calibrate it by latitude, sure. How does it then from a non-rotating body? How does it use it? But I think you're just using the calibration as a thought-terminating cliche. I don't think you're really getting involved in what that calibration would involve. You've got a device that is able to find due north-south, which is not something that can be found with many easy means. And
it's literally calibrated to find due north when they made it, and then it continues to do the thing it was calibrated to do as you move it around the Earth.
I think you're just using the word calibration to avoid engaging with the substance of what I'm saying, which is this device.
Okay, what's the
doesn't know
substance
where
that I'm dodging specifically, please?
Sure. Calibration doesn't mean you can tell it where due north is. Otherwise, you would have to tell it due north every time you spin it up. And the point of the device is that it tells you due north. So how does it on a stationary?
No, you would just need to calibrate it one time. If you make a gyro and it's miscalibrated, it won't point north.
I think he's talking about the machining. So there's a level of friction and adhesion that's machining in like the bearings or whatever the friction device is.
So how would friction find due north? That's the question I'm asking. How does calibration find due north or friction find due north?
I don't know. I'm trying to. I think that's what he means. I don't know.
Because
if you machine a gyro wrong, it won't find due north.
Sure. I mean, that's just saying if I make a ruler with the wrong markings, it won't mark distance. But that's not testing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is neither the calibration nor the squeaky bearings know where north is. It's quite difficult to know where north is during the day.
No, the calibration does know where north is.
How does
the calibration does know where north is?
How? That's what I'm asking. How?
They literally calibrate it to aim north and to have the rotation at the latitude they're at.
How though? What do they plug in?
When they make it, they balance it out. They have to balance it and they test it repeatedly. They say, let's spin it up. It's not pointing north and it's not rotating the amount we want it to at this latitude. Let's tweak it a little. Let's balance it out a little more until we literally get the amount it should be rotating and the direction it should be pointing. And once they have that, then they stop spinning it. They say, it's been calibrated. It's been properly machined and balanced. Let's now sell the product to our clients or whatever.
Yeah, I think that I stick by it. I think you're using the word calibration to avoid engaging with how it would do that, right? You can calibrate the gyro compass. You
can calibrate it to be wrong every time. So if you can calibrate it to be wrong every time, you can calibrate it to.
Question. How wrong can it be?
Depends. It can be very wrong. I mean, it can be to the point where it doesn't show anything at all. It shows no substance for any.
Well, so from what I've read about it, if you give it the worst wrong latitude you can and the most wrong speed, you're still only 6 degrees out. So it's only plus or minus 6 on north.
I'm installing and testing gyro compass on ships when we are installing it. The gyro compass will come from the factory with a way it will all time be pointing, we say north, but pointing one direction. And after on board, where is the ship? Where is installed the gyro compass? We have known bearing, and we compare the reading with the known bearing, and we know how much the compass is deviating. It is noted, and it is the display is adjusted to indicate the true north at the position where we are. And after we don't touch it, we just verify it every few years to verify that there is not any more deviation due to the wear down of the machine.
Yeah, even poorly calibrated, even when they're not very well maintained, they're still pointing somewhere very close to north. And the calibration doesn't tell it what north is. That what you're saying there, you're making up, and misses the fact.
It quite literally is. It quite literally does.
Well, you need
it quite
to show
literally
how that
does.
is. You need to show how.
Hey, does a gyro compass in the southern hemisphere point?
Yeah, I could just flip the thing on you and say you need to show how.
Sure.
You need to show how you're gonna make a gyroscope without calibrating it at all, and it's gonna always point north.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying the calibrations that go into it do not include the information of what north is. They include your latitude and your
It does,
speed.
bro.
But
It doesn't.
Designed. It's literally designed.
It literally
to find
is. Yeah,
true
it's
north.
literally
Exactly. How
That's
does
the
it
whole
do that?
design of it.
when they're
They're claiming
balancing it
that it's
out
not.
at the factory. When they're balancing it at the factory, they quite literally say, this is a little off. Let's alter the fucking weight of the thing we're creating so that it's on point. They literally calibrate it to point at the thing you think it should point at.
Well, let's test it then. Let's flip and go, okay, fine. The Earth's flat and they calibrate it somehow to find due north. What is that? What is due north? Or indeed it points due south, right? It's aligning with the rotation of Earth is the claim.
Due north is geographically below Polaris.
Bingo. So how does a spinning mass know where Polaris is? With calibration.
That's a great question.
Exactly. If we're on a spinning body, then it necessitates you must be able to find it with the spinning mass, right? But if you're on something that's flat and stationary, how does spinning masses find this point that's under the star? Because that's the only really reliable way to find due north, aside from this, is use the stars, right?
I'll give you that. I don't think Flat Earth has an explanation for why you can spin up a calibrated gyro and it always spins due north. But there is people working on theories and stuff. I'm not saying that any of them are on fruitful roads, but there's a lack of explanation, as well as there's a lack of explanation for why little g is there. But also, you guys kind of have a lack of explanation for little g, I would say. So that's more of an even thing. But yeah, no.
Little g.
It's a good point. There is an explanatory power that the globe has in addition that the flat Earth does not.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
You and I could
That's
both
our
look and
point
observe.
here.
You and I could both look and observe phenomena, and you could have a certain worldview, and in that worldview could have some sort of explanation for the observed phenomena. Doesn't actually make your worldview correct or the explanation correct. It just means your worldview has an explanatory power.
It's pretty good.
If
It's
I'm
pretty damn
looking
good
at
evidence, though.
people dying or slaughtered, and I'm an atheist, and I'm like, there's no reason for this. Whereas if you're a Muslim and you say the reason is, thanks, bro. Thanks for your in-depth, good fucking value.
Make a good analogy and stick to the topic.
It's a fucking great analogy, motherfucker.
Okay,
No,
continue.
you're going off topic here. We're talking about shape of the Earth.
So what do you think that like in physics there are many things that have explanatory power. Do you think that they add weight to the claim? Like that, I agree with you. They don't prove it true. Somebody could have a great explanation. We used to have great explanations in science.
It does add weight to the claim, but it's also something that you observe the phenomena, then you came up with an explanation for it after, right? So
sure,
it does add weight, but it's not like
conclusive.
It's like I said, dude. Science cannot really prove anything, so it's not actual like 100% proof. It just adds confidence to the globe.
Yeah. That's the way I put it too. It doesn't prove.
Yeah, I would say that adds confidence. It adds confidence. The gyro adds confidence to the globe. But if flat earthers came up with a explanation, then they could make, if they say the ether drift or whatever, and they came up with an explanation, they could then simultaneously claim that same added confidence.
Yes.
No, they can't because they'll just make up some shit.
the ether would effectively be like if it's twisting interference patterns, like because that was what was claimed. Ether came out because of Bob's experiment that detected rotation, but it was using light. And ether, I think, could explain that. Where I still think ether is, to my terrible understanding of physics, somewhat considered necessary by some physicists, that what is light traveling through and blah blah blah. But what it would be in the case of a spinning mass is it would necessarily be in Newtonian forces. It would need to be in newtons. And what that would mean is we've got free energy surrounding us that can only seemingly be harvested from the ether by trying to detect the rotation of Earth. Like it only manifests in a way that makes it seem like we're on a spin body.
Yeah, but also the same thing is that you could say the star is spinning above us and causes some sort of ether drag. And I'm just giving a loose explanation, so
Yeah, it sounds like you're repurposing. I mean, it sounds like you're repurposing like some phenomena and interpreting it as your biased preference. That just seems like all you're doing.
Does it sound like? I mean, if you just Google the definition.
Well, yeah, you called it the globe rotation. That's specifically not what it is. Like, if there is any precession, it would be in coincidence with the sky's motion.
Well, I mean, if
so, your framework is based on your bias. That's all.
Well, I mean, nobody is without bias. The most biased people are the ones who don't realize they're biased. And
I like that.
Well, I had to point it out. So
sure, but
I like that.
I don't think I'm just making it up. I challenge you to find a meaningful definition of how a mechanical gyro compass works, not a heading indicator, a gyro compass. And what I think you will almost guaranteed to find in that description of how they work is the rotation of the Earth, that it aligns with geographic north-south due to the rotation
based on the framework preference. Yeah.
But then what I'm saying is then it's not bias. It's not like the scientists are going, hey, we've got this device and we don't know how it finds.
All right, man. Look,
Eggshells
in this
saying,
discussion,
oh, it's the rotation of Earth. Then
yeah, in this discussion, this is clearly comparing two different trains of thought, at least. So in the mainstream, they're not saying, well, maybe it's this moving and not instead of this moving. They're not saying that. Here we're saying that. Yeah.
Sure, but what we're saying, if we're saying it's ether drift from the stars, what we're saying is points of light very, very far away can impart newtons of torque onto a spinning mass.
Yeah, I think
that's free energy.
Not necessarily the points of light, because the ether. Some theories are that it's basically like a fluid almost, like an invisible.
It's
whatever,
like
but
thinner than
that
gas.
was actually a pretty good Steelman from Riding on Eggshells. That the spinning ether, whatever it might be, either points of light or some sort of medium that spins around, does import torques of Newton. That is a great Steelman, I think.
Well, I think it could also be traveling downwards as well as spinning. Like it could be what's imparting this like downward this downward force. Instead of calling it a pseudo force, could just be, yeah, exactly. I think it's as it's traveling downward, it's imparting like a drag on matter. So it's being induced into the matter and also dragging, and it collects at the bottom, and it offers us this acceleration phenomena.
I think that could solve some problems, but I think you'll find it actually creates, same as I accuse most flat Earth defenses of, they end up trying to solve a problem but make a bigger one. Because what you could say with that, as you're saying, is there's a drag from the ether, something to do with heavenly energies above are imparting newtons of torque onto a spinning mass. But that also gives us an axis, a detectable, discernible axis, that when we try to detect it, we detect it as horizontal at the equator. And then we detect it as equal to our latitude, which, again, even if it were heavenly energies and we're on a stationary thing, that would necessitate that either we're all detecting different axes, so the stars are all giving us a different axis for where we're standing, or that we're on a sphere that's stationary.
Or how about let's just make it more simple? Your paradigm would have to invoke two different trains of thought, one called quantum, one called relativity.
I don't invoke either of those for this.
Well, the thing is, they would have to. Otherwise, it doesn't. No. I'm saying they would have to, because in your framework, like you would essentially be operating in a materialistic philosophy where there is just empty space in excuse of like, you know, okay, you got your predicted outcomes, you would require this amount of mass. Then there's all this empty space.
What?
Right?
Well, how's that got
In
to,
our framework, in the framework that
taking us back
involves
to a gyro?
ether,
I don't see how that
Well-
relates to a gyro. It sounds like you're just saying space is mysterious. Yeah, I agree. I don't use
no,
space.
no. What I didn't
Go
even
on.
get to finish because you
Sorry.
wanted to. Yeah.
Go
Look,
for
what I'm saying is that I think it would make more sense that space itself would necessitate that there is a medium, and that what we consider to be a vacuum is no more than just this other medium.
All right, well, get right on it. We await your paper.
Yeah, I still don't see how that means that then, because my point was, even if we're right about heavenly energies finding this axis of Earth that we all then mistakenly think is rotation, but it's not, it's the heavens rotating on a stationary body. My point is that rotation that we are mistakenly detecting, we are also detecting with it an axis, and the axis is horizontal at the equator, implying that it is, you know, parallel to the surface of water, to the plane of surface of water, but at the poles it's vertical. And what I'm saying is with that, just here on Earth, you've got a spinning mass that says when you were in Uganda on the equator, a line that was horizontal to you now, when I detect that same line down here at the pole, it's now vertical. And if I go up to the pole, it's vertical and turning the other way. And what I'm saying is it doesn't get us away from the problem of curvature. It in fact still implies curvature.
That's fine, but the point that I was making and the why it's relevant is that if there is another medium, then it's definitely not the model that you guys are appealing to. And if there is another medium, it's definitely closer to at least something that we're appealing to, whether it's flat or not.
That's a lot of
It
ifs.
sounds like it's appealing
Well,
to a possible medium.
I don't have
that
my
might be-
model set in stone. I mean,
Well, there you go. First problem number one.
Well, I think problem number one is establishing that you can, you know, have empty space with no material there and just call it a vacuum with a void of anything. I think that's your biggest problem, honestly, is appealing to that system.
Well,
it's nonsensical.
well-
Doesn't fit any other model except your
Then you,
special world.
then you wallow in that problem. We'll be just fine.
I don't think it is a big issue. I get why flat earthers see it as an issue.
Yeah,
but
thank
for me,
you, Eggshells, for actually engaging with us and not being a complete waste of time.
Thank you.
Like you're saying, the vacuum catastrophe is not an issue. The
not an
fact that
issue,
there's
no.
all this energy. No. So the crisis in cosmology, not an issue. It's not a crisis. They just worded it wrong, right? It's actually more of a.
I'm not
Not
talking
a
about
crisis.
crisis
They
in
just worded
cosmology.
it
I'm just saying
wrong.
I'm just saying the vacuum isn't an issue because to me, air is already pretty darn vacuous, right? It's pretty sparse stuff. So the vacuum that people are like, oh, how do we get 14.7? Is like 14.7 is damn low, right? It starts at the water. Space starts at sea level and just gets more spacey the higher up you go, right? And there's no existing, to my knowledge, flat Earth rebuttal to that, right? What stops the air continuing to thin out before it necessitates a container? Because as the pressure gets lower, the necessity of the container also gets lower.
I
think Denmark has a good. I think
about
Denmark has a
I'm
good
talking
model.
about.
third world problem. You know what I mean?
Say again?
Like the crisis in cosmology. I'm not talking about containers, right? I'm talking about the cosmological constant crisis.
Sure. If that was necessary for my point about gyros, I would agree my gyros have an issue, but it's not. It's those problems are outside our solar system, and I have limited faith in the findings of people who make claims about outside of the solar system. The further away we get, the less confidence I have in their claims. So I perceive no crisis in cosmology.
So you just ignore the fact that gravity doesn't work at the galactic level and 80% of the matter in the universe is dark matter. To make the gravity work at the galactic level, you just ignore that part, right?
Well, I think it would be ignoring it if, and this is true of so many flat Earth bits of evidence like this, if there was an alternate that flat Earth gave that was better, then I would be just ignoring the fact that flat Earth's got a great answer for the mass of distant galaxies, and us globers of just ignoring the facts. But if it's just, you know, people try to make really precise guesses based on really limited information, based on what they can see of distant galaxies, and their calculations are wrong, that's what I expect. That's not a crisis to me. That's just a problem of we can't travel very far and we can't see very precise, Precisely, I guess, is the best word for it. So I keep reasserting, if you think there is a problem in my worldview, you need to point out something that exists in my worldview, not just saying, hey, I've decided you should have this problem of cosmology.
So first of all, it's not a flat Earth argument. And it's globers that are actually having these arguments, so you're wrong there. And second of all, like just
like globers aren't having the arguments.
You said that this is a flat Earth argument. You said this is a flat Earth argument.
No.
You led with it.
Let me tell you what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it would be a problem if, like all of the other problems of why are the moon and the sun the same size, this problem of cosmology is only meaningful to the debate. I'm only ignoring something if flat Earth has a better answer. But flat Earth invariably points out something they see as a problem and have no answer themselves. And our answers are like a little bit wibbly, and your answers are not apparent. Therefore, it's not a crisis to me.
Yeah, what you're doing is jeering from the cheap seats.
Yeah, like if you said, hey, you've got a problem with distant masses of galaxies, but if you treat them as stationary and you do X and Y, then the masses all click into place, you would have a really strong case. It would be worth listening to you on it. But yeah, if you're just going, hey, do you know that really smart people can't agree on the mass of distant galaxies, and I have no view on whether they even contain matter, it's just a nothing argument in my view. It's a long way from gyroscope.
It's actually pretty smart. It's actually pretty reasonable what Eggshells just said.
God damn it,
Eggshells has been on point today. I got to give you that. You've been on point today.
Can I add one thing?
Noah doesn't praise globers often too, so that's pretty significant for eggs.
We also have a model that makes predictions and produces consistent results. So if we didn't, then yes, there could be alternatives, or there could be a placeholder for we don't know what's causing it.
Except for that whole vacuum catastrophe thing.
It was a little muffled. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah,
How do you think flat Earth could come to that? Could get there?
I think you just have to start solving problems. I think like there are necessary differences. So flat Earth necessitates that perspective doesn't work as standard right angle triangles. Then it would go, right, okay, so solve that issue of things dipping down behind a hump as they go away. And you would probably find that also produced new lenses that work really well. And
dude, refraction, that's what refraction does. Jesse proved it with his fish tanks.
But the point I'm making is flat Earth disagrees with many things in the mainstream, and we get great utility from those things, such as navigation and cameras and flights and flight paths and shipping and all sorts of stuff. And I think that flat Earth would make a lot of headway if it, when it saying, hey, this is wrong, was able to take the next most crucial step of saying, here's what's right. But all flat Earth ever does is says, hey, this is wrong. And then doesn't propose a better solution.
Is that like a utilitarian?
It is.
Fallacy
So it can be fallacious. I do agree with that. It's just saying because it works, it's true.
A little bit.
You know,
Larry,
yeah, the microphones are really bad tonight, guys. Come on,
Larry, get out of the trunk.
Get it together.
So
I know they got good microphones for like $20 on Amazon. What the fuck?
He was driving last time. He was getting a new mic.
Dude, I can turn my Bluetooth on right now and it'll sound good. Promise.
I'm on Bluetooth. No. I've been on AirPods this whole time, all day.
Boom.
I'm exclusively talking to you guys through AirPods.
Yeah, and they sound good.
Dude, Apple's the shit, dude. I mean, maybe like actual computer guys will disagree with me, but as far as like a lay person who knows not really that much about computers, Apple is it's the fucking greatest product of all.
They're the business for people who don't want to be power users of their own device and don't mind that they've basically bought a device on subscription. I think they're really good, but I always get annoyed with them that there are.
Dude, I don't pay shit for my Apples and stuff. I don't pay shit, dude.
I'm more meant as a joke because they often won't let you download apps that could do things because they won't let them on the App Store, and because it's a walled garden, then you just can't do that with your device, and that really frustrates me about it. But I'm a massive nerd and try to use my phones for things that the designers don't.
As long as you get like I don't know as far as the iPhone. I really don't do much with the iPhone, but you can do a lot with the operating system on the Macs.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
I know
control
is that
the globe.
I generally don't have an option to get a Linux PC for work, and Mac is so much better for development than Windows out of the box.
Is
It's
it?
like not it. Oh yeah,
Dude,
because it
Mac
has
is so good, bro. I dropped my fucking MacBook Pro the other day from 5 feet, and I was devastated. And I opened it up, and it was fine. And I don't think I'm ever gonna buy a non-Mac laptop ever again, dude. It fell from 5 feet, flat on the back of its face, on the back of the laptop has the screen side and the keyboard side. It
Yeah.
fell on the screen side, flat onto concrete ground from 5 feet up off the back of my truck.
They're so
And
good for that.
I was about to like cry, dude. Well, I wasn't about to cry, but you know what I'm saying. Like I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, like that's thousands of dollars right there. But nah, I picked it up. It was fine. That was crazy.
And that's partly how they design it, where they like PCs are just sort of thrown together from all sorts of different manufacturers, and so usually somebody just makes a shell for the laptop, and then you sort of try to jam the bits in. But what that means is you get a load of spare space, a load of air, which allows a lot of dust in, allows a lot of moisture ingress, and also has this annoying squeakiness to it. So like if you pick up your laptop, if it's a PC, you'll quite often hear this squeaking of the plastics pressing together. And what Mac does is mill out, so it's a solid block of aluminium, and then they just go, right, the GPU's going here, so they mill out a space for the GPU, so the bits all sit together really nicely, and that helps a lot with shock, is my understanding.
Bro, what's his name? Warren Buffett. According to the news and the media or whatever, he wrote a book
yeah,
called
you
Security
trust
and
trust the
Motherfucker.
news.
I'm gonna fucking strangle you like you're Bart Simpson.
Sorry.
So, anyways, he wrote a book called Security Analysis. He said, or quoted by the news, saying that basically he bent the rules of his own security analysis because the products that Mac puts out are so exceptional that he basically what looked like a bad deal on paper for his particular way of analyzing securities. He said he took it because of how exceptional Mac products are. So that guy, the guy who's supposed to be the greatest investor of all time or whatever, had said that basically he had to break his own rules because their products were so good.
Didn't wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, Noah, but did Charlie Munger help him with that decision? I forget like
Yeah,
the
yes,
genesis of
They
that.
they had some other kid that they just hired, some whiz kid who basically went to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. This is how the story goes. I mean, I don't know what actually happened, but as far as the media is concerned, basically convinced them that it's just their products are so good that fuck your security analysis method. Like this is a good this is a good investment. This is a solid investment. And now I think
Yeah,
they
how
own
much?
they're majority shareholders of Apple. Berkshire Hathaway.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Noah,
they're,
can I ask you a question real quick? I think you started to go into earlier. You started talking about being close to being like back on the globe, and I think it kind of got derailed. Did you have any like specific things that are kind of lending its ear to you?
Yeah, if I was gonna go back to the globe, it'd be a geocentric globe, most definitely, and probably not one that rotates. But I don't really feel comfortable saying I've fully hopped over to that yet. But if I did, that's where I would go first. I would not automatically hop to the Big Bang Theory and all that other malarkey.
Yeah. My question was like kind of what's pushing you, like what's really got you irritated about like that you can't explain. I guess I think you were gonna go into.
Well, I've been going back through what I believe of recent and trying to essentially. This started more so with religion and basically looking at, I guess, Protestantism versus like Orthodox and Catholic Christianity versus the Protestant one. So I started relooking that because I was seeing that actually a lot of these arguments are really bad misinterpretations of the scripture, simplistic misinterpretation of the scripture. So I went that, and then I was thinking like, wow, that's actually pretty much was duped on a lot of things or taking a lot of positions that were not, upon further investigation, not true. So I've been kind of recently trying to see, are all my stances on my beliefs rational, I guess, in a way, And I mean, there's a lot of things that are would look to be globe proofs or whatever. Now you can explain a lot of them away, some of them as tricks and stuff, but I'm seeing it's a little more solid to me. Yeah, I think it's a little more reasonable to be a globe believer
I
in
got you.
certain due to certain evidence, specific points of evidence and stuff.
So is it fair to say that like that you felt like you were duped and the religion kind of opened you up to the possibility that, hey, what else have I been kind of like duped on, or what else have I probably just jumped
Yes,
into?
yeah. Basically seeing like, wow, like what I thought was just yeah, honestly, it seems like there were people who are legitimately lying on purpose, creating convoluted like rabbit holes of lies for me to go down and be deceived in. And so also looking at a lot of these quote unquote like guys who are like the original flat earthers or whatever, it's a lot of weird characters that almost seem to be like it's like secret agents, bro. Like as crazy as it sounds, seem to be like
cartoon
actual people
villains.
that aren't actually like legitimate people. Like they're playing out like a character or a script, basically.
Yeah, a cartoon villain.
Noah, can I ask you, like, what is it about geocentrism that still resonates with you? Is it the like skepticism of relativity? Is it more of a philosophical argument? I'm curious.
I get relativity is not
fallback. It's usually the first fallback position.
Sorry.
As far as
no,
relativity goes, I don't even think they legitimately say that. Like, there's really not even a distinguishing thing between, like, if you're a relativist or whatever, you believe in relativity, you basically are saying to someone who's a geocentrist, you could be correct, right? You're not even denying that geocentrism is really incorrect in a way, almost.
What, in the sense that because there's no absolute motion, the motion of the sun or the earth, like that Einstein quote, is that the one you're kind of referencing there?
I mean, I don't know what quote specifically, but yeah, that general sentiment. Yeah, basically, it's like if I'm arguing with, say, an Hindu, right, and the Hindu is basically saying like, "Oh, everything is correct," and I'm saying one thing is correct. He's simultaneously saying I'm right, but then I'm by me being right, that means he's wrong, right? So if you're a geocentrist and the person relativistic, they basically are saying like you're right, but if you're a geocentrist, you're saying no, you're definitely wrong. So one side's saying the other side's right, the other side's saying the other side's wrong. So like it kind of creates this logical loop where only one side even has like a solid claim at all. Like relativists don't even make a solid claim of the position of Earth in the universe. Like they basically given
one
up
is
on that.
right,
They
one
can't
is
even.
wrong.
It's outside of the purview of relativity to say if you're a geocentric universe or not.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious, like, so for me, what's most convincing is the fact that the dynamics, other than that one paper by Popov, which I'm sure you've like either read or you know about it, because if I recall correctly, you have like somewhat of a background in physics, right? Like in that you took like physics in college.
I
or
mean, I'm
something.
not. Yeah, I mean, I got an undergrad, but it's no by no means is like an expertise. It's just a lot better than what people have on Discord, which is just plain simple mental retardation.
Yeah, that's
like
the
I
least
just have
effective
some
branch
semblance of
physics.
knowledge. Yeah, I just have some semblance of knowledge given the undergrad, but
Yeah,
these
I feel
people
you.
don't even know like what the word physics or science even means to begin with. So they're just so far out of the category. It's
Yeah, no, I feel you. No, I mean for sure, like I've always like thought you make decent arguments. Like I'm just curious, like for me, I guess the biggest thing for like privileging one position or not has to be the dynamics, right? Because you can, sort of describe the kinematics from either frame. Yeah, I agree. But like, what do you make of like my understanding is that the dynamics of the universe only really makes sense from the perspective of a Copernican and not like a neo-Tychonian model without introducing like other forms of
wait,
physics.
you think the dynamics support a heliocentric system,
Yeah.
essentially?
That's my view, yeah. If you have a different view,
Well,
I'm
could you
curious.
make that or the reasoning behind that view known to
Sure.
me right now?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to start for me is like I look at so I don't know of a geocentric model in which the Earth rotates. So for me, if we can establish that the cause of something dynamically is Earth rotation, then that to me is the strongest evidence because it's something that you can actually test yourself without being like, a fucking satellite engineer or some shit. Like I don't know what else you would need.
But you run into that fucking thing that Witsit always talks about, where basically it would be dynamically equivalent for the stars to all be rotating around the Earth as the Earth to be rotating and all the distant stars still or whatever. Like it would dynamically have the same equivalence.
It says a lot of things, but to Moron's point, the problem is not that the Earth is rotating, but the Earth's rotation is variable. So if you want to make the claim that it's the Earth that's stationary and the universe that's rotating, then you're going to have to explain to me how the universe, the speed or the rotation of the universe changes over time.
Yeah, and also seasons, right? Like
Wait.
understanding. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'll let you make your point about seasons, but that first point, when have you? What do you mean by the rotation changing?
Geologists have measured that the length of the day changes by a very small fraction